great question. So it starts by recognizing that like you're looking for answers fundamentally because this is the way you've been trained. So like literally the reason I ask you the question, where do you get the idea that there is a formula for success? It's because like everywhere around you, like even though you've figured out, and this is huge for you, by the way, I think it's awesome that you figured this out, that your formula for success is not your parents' formula for success. The next step is for you to figure out, is there a formula for success?
I'm actually not home. I'm stuck at Hamburg, Germany right now because of
Oh
the
my God.
corona. Yeah, so I have to like stream from phone and work from phone and like do everything from my phone right now.
Oh, wow.
So yeah.
I'm so
Okay,
sorry that
how's
you're stranded. That's
I mean,
fantastic.
it's okay. It's an experience, you know. There's some good things coming with it, so
Yeah.
I hope it doesn't fall.
Can you tell me about those? And it's Mira, right?
Yes. Yeah. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So, Mira, what are we talking about today?
Oh, so much I wanted to talk to you about. Well, first of all, I wanted to say that I think what you've been doing on Twitch is absolutely amazing. Just
Thank you.
like absolutely astonishing. Like, I'm just grateful that people actually trying to bring awareness into mental health in the gaming community. Because I've been streaming on Twitch for like over 5 years and I've never
Oh, wow.
ever seen anything like so useful. Like, it's, I, please keep doing what you're doing. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you so much. I really
Hmm.
appreciate the support and kind of the positive wishes. It keeps us going. So I'm grateful
Yeah,
for your support.
yeah. So yeah, I started watching you from the very beginning, actually. Like the first stream that you did
Oh,
with
wow.
Byron. Yeah, the first time that you streamed with Byron, I actually watched the whole thing, and I
Mm-hmm.
had like a very strong reaction to that.
Hmm.
For two reasons, actually.
Okay.
Well, the first one is because I could relate to like what Byron was talking about. Me and Byron, we don't keep in touch, but like back like few like years ago, we kind of had a similar like we connected on a level of like depression and like how we
Oh, wow.
felt.
Yeah.
So when he was talking about all these issues with you, it was like trigger point for me. So
Hmm.
I was kind of like reliving some of my experiences and all the conversations that you were having with him. I found very helpful. Like I kept reflecting on that, and yeah, so obviously that had an impact on me. And as I mentioned, like the fact that I haven't seen anything like this useful on Twitch for years and years. I mean, yeah, Twitch just brings some entertainment here and there, but like actual like knowledge, like
Hmm.
actual help. Like it's just I just think it's amazing. So for me it was like wow, you
Yeah, so
know?
I think a lot of people. I think Byron's courage was really instrumental in demonstrating to people that like you can talk about things that are normally hidden, and
Yeah.
and that you don't have to be ashamed or afraid of what's on the inside. And
Yeah.
so, what was it about? And the other thing that's I guess not that surprising, but I think a lot of streamers and our community, because streamers are like, we think about streamers as different, but I think they're part of our community, right? Like they're just,
Of course, yeah.
and so depression and mental health problems are something that we all struggle with. Um, and so was there something in particular that like sort of was resonated with you about the talk with Byron?
Well, yeah, I already mentioned that me and him like interacted before in the past, and
Mm-hmm.
there was this one discussion that I had with him, one on one, it was off stream. We were talking about not feeling much.
Mm.
You know, that issue when you feel like you have almost everything in life. Well, you know, that like a normal person would think they need to feel happy, but you
Mm-hmm.
just don't feel happy. And on top of that, you just don't feel much at all.
Mm. Like
And
numb.
yes, exactly. And like the more you dug it with Byron, the more like you realize that there was traumas that, sort of
Yeah.
affected the way that he is. So I really, I try to, because I try to contact you pretty much right after you talked to Byron, but it was a little hard to get in touch. So, but I didn't
Sorry about
get
that.
disencouraged. No, it's absolutely understandable. You have other things to do. So I try to sort of dig that on my own, and I try to
Good for you.
um yeah, I just try to get like information online and like work on myself and figure out what was really wrong. And I mean, I progressed kind of ish. I had some progress through that, but um
Can you tell us a little bit about that journey?
yeah, I can. Um well, I did realize that a lot of my mental issues just came from the way my parents raised me. Always in it
Mm.
like that with everyone pretty much. And a lot of it I didn't even realize that I had, because I thought that's just how world is, because our
Yep.
parents raise us a certain way and we like believe
You
that's
just
it.
absolutely.
Yeah. So it's
So
kind
can
of
you
hard to reflect on that like on your own, but
absolutely? So let me just. Sorry, 1 second.
mhm.
Sit cross-legged. That's the tapping. Sorry about that. Twitch having
Yeah, that's what I'm doing too. Cross-legged.
So, Mira, would you like, is it okay if I ask you some questions about that?
Mhm. Sure.
Okay. And if there's anything that I ask that you're not comfortable answering, just let me know, and you don't have to say anything that you're not comfortable with. Um, so let's start with this. So when you said that it was a lot of it has to do with the way that your parents raised you, can you tell me a little bit about what growing up was like for you?
Yes, I can. Um, I grew up in I have to be careful with the words I choose here. um,
Why do you have
my
to be careful about the words you choose?
uh, my parents, they're more or less like public figures, so I have to
Ah,
like be careful.
okay.
Uh-huh. So, and that's like another big thing that added to my childhood, because you can't truly do what you want all the time. You have to like be very careful about like how you present yourself.
Okay.
Um, Not so much, I guess, on Twitch. Like on Twitch, that's why I like try to, keep that part separate, very separate, because I feel like I feel more free to express myself on Twitch. But growing up, I had a pretty strict upbringing, I guess. Like my parents were open-minded about some things, but for the most part, they had a very specific ideas about how we should be raised and like what we need to do in life, and how, um, I guess, what it is we need to do to be happy. And they sort of were very controlling, in my opinion.
And what
Um,
did they think you needed to do in life?
you know, the normal stuff. You graduate school, then you go to college, you graduate college, and of course, you have to have very good grades everywhere, and you have to be on your best behavior everywhere. You have to make them proud.
What does
And
best behavior look like?
you just have to be the best. You just have to be the best. Like, there's nothing else. Like, you have to have a waist. Like, that's it. Like, I
Hmm.
just remember school was very stressful, mainly because of that. So yeah, and then when you graduate college, you need to, you don't have to get a job. Just like go straight into marriage, because like you have to have a husband, and you have to have kids, and you're gonna feel happy there. You know. But then the time comes, you realize, okay, check, 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 check. I feel empty,
And what were
and
the checks? What were the boxes that you had checked?
okay, I didn't get the kids box. I didn't get a few boxes, but um I think it's really good that I didn't have kids. I think you have to be mentally very healthy and financially also ready to raise somebody else. Because if you have issues, like your kid's just gonna copy you, and that's gonna be bad news bears.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. So it sounds like you did well academically.
yes, I did.
And
But
when did you, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
even that like didn't bring much satisfaction to my life. I don't
Sure.
know. I had some good jobs as well. Um, just nothing really. It just all felt very off, and I couldn't understand like why. And like lately, when I started realizing, like analyzing things, I was like, hey, maybe like that over controlling behavior from my parents just kind of resulted in me making one choices for myself in terms of like that's not what I wanted. That's why I don't feel happy. That's what they wanted for me.
Sure. So what do you want?
Like ever?
I mean, so here's what I'm hearing, Mira. You told us what you've given us a nice picture of what your parents wanted for you. And you're
Yeah,
telling me that you kind of did what they wanted, basically, right? For the most part.
for the most part, yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
as you sort of lived the life they had wanted for you noticed yourself feeling not happy as you should have been, and also maybe a little bit numb and feeling a little bit empty.
Mm-hmm.
And so then the question becomes, okay, if that's what they wanted, and we're thinking about, like, I'm assuming that numbness and emptiness is a problem for you. Is that fair?
I mean, should it be a problem?
So let's
Other
start
people
there.
say it should be. Yeah, some people do believe that it is a problem, but
So Mira, what can I help you with today?
how exactly, can I ask you a question about like your career path?
Sure.
Do you remember the moment when you realized like you 100% want to do what you're doing right now? Like you want to study in that area and you want to become who you are?
Yes and no. So I would say that I had 100% knowledge of who I wanted to be,
Mm-hmm.
and I was 100% confident in that, and I turned out to be wrong. And then I kind of figured something out, and I sort of settled for second best. And then at another point, I sort of figured out 100% of who I wanted to be, and then I turned out to be wrong. And now I have a sense of 100% of who I want to be for the third time in my life. And so far, it seems to be going well. And each of those things, when I knew what I wanted to be, I think I gained a lot from it. It's not like there was failure.
Right?
So I think that, there's this idea that you have this revelation and then you figure out what your true path is in life. But in my experience, it's a series of revelations that are kind of wrong. And each of those brings you one step closer to like what you should be doing.
Do you feel like what you're doing right now in life might be your life's purpose in terms of your job, in terms of occupation?
I think it's my life's purpose now. But what life has taught me is that your purpose in life changes over time.
Right? Has it always been your occupation, like your main focus of your life?
No, no. So I view occupation as a vehicle to accomplish what you want. Right? So like I'm a medical doctor, but like I don't have to be, so what I'm doing today doesn't have much to do with being a medical doctor, right? Like so medical doctor is a part of my training, but what I'm really trying to do is help gamers, and I teach them lots of things that are completely outside of medicine. So medical doctor, like my occupation serves my goal, it isn't my goal. And this I think is exactly what maybe like your parents tried to emphasize for you, is that they felt like a particular occupation or a particular part, a particular piece of your life is the goal. For me, it's not the goal. It's just a means. You play video
Okay.
games?
Oh yeah, I've been doing it since I was a kid.
What do you play?
Well, now that I don't have my computer, I've just been playing lots of Hearthstone. It's like a
Okay.
strategy card
Yeah.
game. Yeah.
So I'm a boomer, but not that much of a boomer. Um, so when we think about like, like when you're playing Hearthstone, you can kind of think about like you have a class, right? And your class is kind of like your occupation. But the
Hmm.
goal of the game is like independent of what class you're playing. The goal of the game is to win. And the class just simply gives you a certain set of tools to accomplish your goal. And I think the purpose is not to be a mage. The purpose is to win the game. And if you are a mage, then you need to be using like Ice Block and Blizzard. Does
Right.
that make sense? So I don't think that my occupation is my goal. It's just I'm trying to help people, and the way in which I'm helping people is like has to do with like my particular class. It's almost like one of the, the tavern brawls where you get like two classes,
Hmm.
So like what I am is like a mixture of two things. Like it's part monk and part doctor. And I combine both of those to like have a set of cards that then I use to help people. But the goal is really to help people, but you don't have to do what I do. Does that make sense? Like I don't think
Yeah,
occupation is the
absolutely.
point.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I actually love when you make those comparisons of like our lives and video games. Like I've noticed you do it often on streams. It just helps people relate a lot better. So
Yeah, I think
yeah.
there's deep, deep wisdom within video games.
Agreed. So if video games would try to win, what do you think winning would relate to in real life?
Uh, yeah, so I mean, for me or for other people?
For you, I would like to hear your opinion. I value it.
Sure. So for me, it's like I see people suffering, and that matters to me. So what I determine, like what winning looks like, comes from an internal sense.
Hmm.
Like I see a lot of people, I get messages and stuff, and I really am sorry that we didn't get back to you when you reached out to us, but we just get like literally thousands of people reaching out to us. And each of those
Understandable.
messages, I don't have time to read them all, but like I try to read as many as I can. I actually try to respond to as many as I can. And I have a choice between responding to all the messages that I get or having a job and Twitch streaming and being with my kids. And every time I get one of those messages and I read it, I see that someone is like suffering and lost, and I feel like I should help them. So that's
Hmm.
what winning looks like to me. It's like helping all these random people who are like messaging me. And in a sense, it's also helping the person that I used to be. Like I remember what I used to feel like, and I remember
Hmm.
feeling directionless. And I remember, so I have parents that are somewhat like yours. I mean, I'm the son of two physicians who were highly, highly motivated and emphasized education and grades. And, my dad, when I was growing up, told I have an older brother. So he said, one of y'all is going to be a doctor and one of y'all is going to be a lawyer. And those were our options. And, and so
Oh
sound
my.
familiar?
Yeah.
um, so, I grew up and sort of also recognized that like I didn't value the things that my family members valued. Like I didn't care about being a doctor. Like I did it because of ego, and I did it because when I was 15 and people asked me at like a party, like, my parents' friends would ask me, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I would say doctor, everyone would get impressed. And they would like, it was like I had accomplished something. Like they would give me praise for stating something that I wanted to be 15 years from now. And that's a really
Hmm.
bizarre reinforcement for a 15-year-old, you know?
Yeah.
Even now I notice it with my kids. Like when my 4-year-old says, yeah, I want to be a doctor when I grow up, everyone's like so impressed. And it's like, um, so I mean, that's what drives me is like helping people. And I think about the person that I used to be, like when I grew up with my parents, and they did the best that they could. Like I think
Yeah.
that was the formula that worked for them. My dad grew up in basically like a 10-foot room where like 8 people lived, and at nighttime they would have to like literally sleep outside because there wasn't enough room for like everyone to like, you can't sleep 8 people in a 10-foot room, 10 by 10 room. So that's kind of what I think about, the person that I had been when I was lost and directionless and hopeless and didn't understand myself or life, and I try to help that person because that's what all that's what the people are who reach out to me.
And that's what makes you happy the most.
That's what makes me happy the most?
That's what
No.
gives you that purpose in life.
Gives me purpose, but what makes me the most is probably gaming and doing fun stuff and like watching TV. Like I get an immense amount of pleasure. And like,
Pleasure.
yeah.
I feel like pleasure and like feeling happy is not really the same though. Not for me
Really?
at least.
Tell me
Mm-hmm.
about that. How are they different?
Like when you were describing those two, just from your example, if I had to choose like which one would make me happy, playing video games or like doing something useful, feeling my self-worth, even if it's in terms of, for selfish reasons, but like I know I helped someone, I would choose the second one. Like the second one actually would make me feel happy. First one, it's like little fixes of
Mm-hmm.
dopamine or something. It's nowhere close.
Have you felt
It's
that way
nothing.
before? Have you
Hmm?
felt that way before, where you feel like you have meaning and worth?
Actually, yes, I felt really good recently. I felt really emotional about it too, which doesn't happen to me often. So, um, and it had to do with my decision to go back to school.
Hmm.
Um, you actually inspired me a lot to do that too. Um,
Sorry about that.
what do you mean? Sorry about that. I, you have no idea like how good I felt after I like figure out that puzzle because I was trying to put like pieces together for a really long time, but I think I finally realized that there's one thing I truly enjoy doing in life and I have some sort of skill for that I haven't even been noticing so much or at all actually, just because I was like so carried away about what others want of me or like what others think or all of
Sure.
that. So
Can you hold on
yeah,
just one
one
second? Sorry.
uh-huh.
Hello? Yes. Give me a second. Sorry. Oh. Let me see if this is better. Okay, there we go. Sorry, Mira. Apparently my mic was too quiet. Can you keep going?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you were saying that you decided to start education?
Yeah, I decided to go back to school. So I got accepted for my master's degree of
Congratulations.
yeah, of psychology and neuroscience actually.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
What hold on. Let me just make sure that this audio stuff is okay. Is this okay? Or I need to do
Yeah.
this. Hold on. Testing. There. Okay. Um, so you decided to get a degree in psychology and neuroscience.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I felt really strong about that one and yeah, but I still don't feel a whole lot besides for that. So it makes me think like, is that because my body is trying to pull me in the direction of like my career and just kind of showing me that this is what you should be doing, this is what you should be focusing on?
Why do you think it's your body showing you something?
Well, recently I found out that most of the emotions that we experience in it, they all just kind of coming from our body and we have to live them through our bodies.
Sure.
So I'm trying to listen a little bit more. You know, people call it the inner voice sometimes, right? So I'm referring to my body as like my inner voice. Um, and I lost my train of thought.
Okay. Let me just think for a second, okay?
Hmm.
What did you feel when you decided or when you got accepted to, you said you felt something and that's not common for you or that you tend to be a little bit numb. So what were you feeling about, was it when you made the decision or when you got accepted to the program or when did you feel something?
Actually, both of them. Well, I did feel really emotional when I got accepted because it was like a hard school to get accepted to. So I was like, damn, I can do it. I obviously felt proud of myself. But even before then, I think I was just searching. I kept searching, but it was so hard. I just couldn't figure out like how to listen to myself, how to like come up with decisions and opinions. Like, is it my opinion? Or is it what my mom wants, my dad wants, what my viewers want, what like the world wants from me? It's very hard sometimes to figure that out. So as much as I was trying to get like information on that, like how to learn to listen to yourself and like what you truly want from life, it just turned out to be so difficult for me. And I couldn't really figure it out, but with this specific example of me going back to school, it just felt right. And I'm not sure if it felt right because I kind of set myself up for it, or it truly is that one thing that is supposed to be happening in my life. Like I'm finally making the right decision.
Where do you get the idea that there's a right decision?
So you're trying to say there's no wrong decision and everything else is just an experience that's going to lead to another
No,
experience?
that's not what I'm saying. I'm asking you, where do you get the idea that there is a right decision?
Because I feel an emotional response.
To something.
Yes, to something. Hmm.
It's a very good answer.
Okay. Is that how you usually figure out if you're making like the right move? If you're feeling emotional about it?
I think when you feel emotional about something, it signals that that has value to you in some way. But I think a
Hmm.
lot of the right decisions, or something like a right decision that I've made, come with bad emotions, not necessarily good ones.
So how does it make it right decision?
It's a good
Oh,
question.
because in the long term, it brings like actually a better outcome, even though it sort of hurts in the moment. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, I think, like, for example, if I think about grief, right?
Hmm.
So if I have to let go of something that I care about, um, that can come with negative emotions, but it can be the right thing to do. So if we think about, like, let's say you're in a romantic relationship which is just not going to work out, or becomes difficult for any number of reasons and doesn't feel like the right thing to do, even though you love that person and you really enjoy spending time with them, but there could be like something that's more important in that relationship. And so you have to give something up, and that can hurt, but it can still be the right thing to do.
But how do you know that that's the right thing to do? How do you know you're not supposed to keep fighting for whatever relationship you have there, however
That
bad it is?
That's a great question. So, Mira, I'm going to answer that in a second. The first thing I want to point out is that, so usually when people come on stream, I tend to ask more questions and give fewer answers. And you seem to have a lot of questions, which is perfectly fine. Do you think that the most helpful thing right now is for you to ask questions and for me to answer them? Is that helpful to you?
Yes. Do you agree
Okay.
with me?
I think there are some upsides and some downsides.
Can we split it 50-50?
Sure. We don't
Okay.
have to. Can I share with you what I think the good things are about that and what the bad things are could be about that?
Hmm.
The first is that, when I ask you, where do you get the idea that there's a right answer? Um, I was actually thinking a little bit about, like, you were raised to believe that there is like a formula for success, right? And really what it seems like you've done is you've replaced their formula with success with the idea that you have a formula for success, and it just needs to be your formula for success. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Like, there's still a path. There's a set
Hmm.
of check boxes that if I do all of these things, I'm going to feel happy. The only difference is that before, those check boxes were your parents' check boxes, and now you're trying to figure out, what are your check boxes. With me?
Are you saying we should erase the check boxes?
I'm wondering whether that's a worthwhile proposition. Right? So you're doing something which is very cool, which is when I say something, you're going through you're very smart. You're going through a set of reasoning, you're predicting where I'm leading you, and then you're asking me whether the conclusion is correct. Do you see that? Like when I ask you a question, you're saying, are you saying, like you're jumping ahead to the end of the road, and you're basically saying, is this what you're suggesting? It's very intelligent. A lot of deductive reasoning.
Do you think it's a waste of energy?
To what?
Do you think what I'm doing there is a waste of energy and I should just kind of let it more, the conversation?
No, I don't think it's a waste of energy. I think it tells us a little bit about how you perceive problems in the world. And I don't think it's a waste of energy. I think that you could be missing something along the way. Right? Because you're drawing conclusions from my questions. So I ask you a question, and then your response, if you just literally listen to what your response is, I'll ask you a question. Where do you get the idea that there's a formula for success? And then your response is not where you get that idea. Your first response is, are you saying ... So you're not actually answering a question about yourself. You're trying to figure out what I think.
Yeah, because I just value... Yeah, maybe I should just go back to watching your streams.
Yes.
Because I just want to know what you think. I just kind of want to listen to you more.
Right.
You know?
So let's just think about this for a second, right? Like your problem is that you don't know what you want. And your default answer is to listen to me more.
Because I think you have a better idea of what those checkboxes are and et cetera, yes.
Right, but like maybe what you should do to figure out what you want is instead of looking for the answer from me, look for the answer from you.
So how does one do that effectively?
Yeah, great question. So it starts by recognizing that like you're looking for answers fundamentally because this is the way you've been trained. So like literally the reason I ask you the question, where do you get the idea that there is a formula for success? It's because like everywhere around you, like even though you've figured out, and this is huge for you, by the way, I think it's awesome that you figured this out, that your formula for success is not your parents' formula for success. The next step is for you to figure out, is there a formula for success? And for a little while, I was wondering, like, why are you asking me the questions that you're asking me, right? Like, it's kind of interesting because, and so when you ask me, did you have a moment where you know what you're supposed to be in the rest of your life? And that presumes that such moments exist and that you find yourself and then you're set for life, right? Like, does that make sense? You're kind of assuming that I had such a moment. And my answer was actually, yeah, I've had several of those moments and I turned out to be wrong through several of them. Mm-hmm. So it's been my experience that there isn't a formula for success. And that thinking in and of itself is the thing that's holding you back.
Mm.
That you think that there is a answer. But here's the thing. I think it's wonderful that you're going to get a degree in psychology and neuroscience. You're clearly very cerebral and very intelligent and very capable. And I think that you're going to be unsatisfied after this.
Why?
Because that's not where happiness comes from.
Where does happiness come from?
Where do you think it comes from?
Okay, we're going 50-50. It's your turn to answer.
Oh, what makes it hard for you to answer that question?
Well, I don't think I have a very clear idea. I mean, obviously, it's going to be all subjective.
Yeah, good. So like now we have to think a little bit about this. Okay, so now, Mira, I'm going to ask you a question. I'll answer whatever questions you want, okay? But I just want to make this point. So if you don't have a clear idea, where does that clarity come from? Does it come from you or does it come from me? Let's just start there.
It should be coming from me. But we're here right now and I'm talking to you with a clear intention of gaining knowledge. So I would like to hear your point of view first, and hopefully that'll help me understand myself a little better.
Yeah, so I'm fine with that if that's really what you want to do. But like, let's just think about that for a second, right? Like, sure, you can learn from me and hope to understand yourself a little bit better. That's absolutely a really important source of knowledge. Because we like the whole reason that the AoE healing works is because other people, like the whole idea behind Healthy Gamer is exactly what you just said. That I can have a conversation with one person and that 1,000 people watching at home can learn something that has nothing to do with an internal exploration. They can see it in another person and they can learn from it. Right? That's what we're here about. Now, I get that you've watched our streams and that you've gained a lot from it, and I'm really glad that that's happened. I'm happy for you, and I'm also happy for myself. That's why we do it. And today, of all days, Mira, you have a different opportunity. You can watch me answer questions for other people as much as you want to, but today you have a very unique opportunity to explore yourself with my help. And if that feels difficult for you, like I get the sense that you're really resistant to doing that, and I'm trying to understand why. And I think it may have something to do with you being afraid that you don't know answers, and it's hard for you to be ignorant in public. That would be my hypothesis, but I'd have to talk to you about it more. Just when I think about children of high-functioning parents who are expected to get all A's, not having the answer on stream is probably going to be hard for you. What do you think?
Okay. Okay, I hear you. So, would you like me to answer the question about what happiness is for me first? Or...
Let me think about that. So you said earlier that pleasure and happiness are different, right?
Yes.
So help me understand how you discovered that.
If we're talking about pleasure, I can think about video games, sex, just little things like that. It's something that is more physical and short term for me. And happiness, it's more of a mental, long-term state.
Okay. So are you happy?
I'm happier than I was before, yes.
Good for
But
you.
I don't think it's my final form.
So have you been happy before?
Not in my final form. No, it's just no.
What does that mean, final form?
I think I have an idea of what I want in the future, like how I want to feel in the future. And that's what I mean by the final form.
So how do you even know that exists?
Because I made it up.
Right. But that's the thing, right? So like there's a part of me that wonders a little bit. So I do think that you can feel happier and more fulfilled than you do right now if you say that you don't feel happy and fulfilled. I think the challenge is that you're chasing something from your imagination. And in doing so, you may miss out on sources of happiness that because you're looking for something.
Right.
Like if you think about, do you mind if I ask you a couple of questions about relationships?
No, go ahead.
Are you in a relationship right now?
Yes.
And is that, when you think about are you happy with your relationship?
I'm definitely happier than I have ever been in a relationship before. Yes.
Okay. So when we think about like what you imagine a good relationship looks like and what your current relationship looks like, before your current relationship, when you envisioned what a good relationship is, how similar is what you're doing now to what you envisioned?
Oh, I missed the first part.
So,
Before my current relationship.
yeah, before you started your current relationship, when you
Uh-huh.
looked into the future and you said, this is the kind of relationship that I want, you created a
Mm-hmm.
fantasy or an ideal of what a relationship should be.
Mm-hmm.
How similar is that ideal to what you're living now?
Ooh, really, really close, but not 100%. Which is why I'm having doubts about it. It's like, should we really settle if it's not 100%, even if it's 99%? You know, is it really the one? How do you know if it's not 100%? Are you just wasting time? Are you just settling?
What do you think?
Oh, I googled this so many times. Google didn't help.
Yeah.
Um, well, Google thinks if you have any doubts at all, like you probably shouldn't even be in it. That's what Google thinks.
What do you think?
I mean, I'm just being really grateful to what the present is compared to the past. But then again, maybe I'm just settling down because I didn't
What do
have
you think about
anything
settling?
better.
What do you think about settling? Are you okay with settling?
It depends. If the worst thing's gonna come, yes. But what if there's something better? He's not watching. Okay.
Yeah. So sorry for making you uncomfortable. We don't have to talk about that more. But I think the feelings that you're having are very common in relationships, right? Like most people in relationships think about whether this is the right, like until you're married, and even after you're married, many people, are you married?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Um, so, I think it's completely normal and healthy to think about what else is out there. Because until you have those thoughts, like you can't settle down with someone in a completely authentic way. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Like if I'm
Did you go
looking at
through
it,
that too?
uh, no.
So you always knew that your wife is the one. Like that's it. That's somebody I want to live the rest of my life, settle in. I feel happy. Even if you have some moments, like that's it.
Did I know that she was the one? Hmm. Sort of. But it was also far from perfect from day one.
Okay.
Right. So my point was that when I think about my ideal relationship, it was very different from what I thought a relationship looked like. So you say that your current
Oh,
relationship is pretty close to your ideal. My ideal was very different. And one of the things, now I'll answer. So one of the things that I've come to appreciate is that there isn't a formula for success, and perfection is an idea. And that I got a lot of happiness from letting go of perfection, from letting
how'd you do
go
that?
of looking for 100%.
But how did you get rid of that idea of like, what if this is not my thing and I'm just
Well, it's the
selling myself
idea
short?
that so it's the idea that something is your thing or isn't your thing. That presumes that there's an objective truth to what's your thing and what isn't your thing.
No, there's not. Huh.
Right? And this
Hmm.
comes back to like, where did you get the idea that there's a formula for success? It's because I think deep within you, you have this idea that things are done right or they're done wrong. There is a right and there is a wrong. There is a right way to be at school. There's a right way to behave when your parents' friends come over. There's a right way to answer questions. There's a right way to look. There's a right way to present yourself. And Twitch reinforces that.
Right.
right? That there's a right way and there's a wrong way. And the thing is, Mira, you're not right or wrong, you're you. And there are going to be parts of you, if you measure yourself against the scale of right and wrong, you're never going to be right. Like, you can't be completely right. You're just you. You're flawed. Any relationship that you engage in is going to be flawed.
Okay. Okay. Okay, that makes sense. But still, there's got to be some sort of signs that you derive probably from within yourself to figure
Sure.
out if this person is your person and not your person, if this is what I want to do in life, like job-wise or not. So how do I get like very sensitive to those feels? Like how do I get to listen to myself better?
Yeah, so I think that you are listening to yourself better. I think you just need to listen for different things. I think you're good at listening to yourself. I think the issue is when you say, is this what I'm supposed to do in life? You can't know, and no sense of yourself is going to tell you what you're supposed to do in life. In a sense, oddly enough, what I would encourage you to do is like, what is something telling you in the moment? And then reflecting on that. So like, is getting a master's degree in psychology and neuroscience supposed to be what you do in life? I'm not sure. But I think it's a wonderful thing for you to do now. And that was my whole point behind my earlier answers. Like, I thought at the age of 21 that I wanted to become a monk. And it felt so right for me. And it turned out to be like absolutely wrong.
Oh, that was one of the things that you said you accomplished and then you realized it was wrong?
Yeah, I decided at the age of 21 I wanted to become a monk. 2 weeks after I tried to like give up my life and my teachers wouldn't quite take me yet, I met the person who was going to be my wife. And I was like, I'm going to be celibate. No more women. I'm finished. And then I met her. And then I was really confused because you were kind of saying, did I know she was the one? Like, it was weird. It was confusing because I didn't think there was going to be a one. Does that make sense?
Right.
I'd let go of the idea of success. I'd let go of the idea of a formula that was going to be right for me. Mm-hmm. I was so wrong, and it felt so right. It felt so good. It felt so wonderful that I was going to be this spiritually enlightened master one day. And then I meet this girl, and wow, she is kind of hot. But no, that's not for me. That's not who I am. That's for regular people. And she was attractive, and I just enjoyed being with her. Like, our first date, I didn't even realize it was a date. Like, I was like, yeah, I'll take you to lunch. Like, if you like Thai food, like, there's a really great restaurant. So we like went to lunch, and then 11 hours later, I dropped her off. And we just hung out the whole day. And like, there I was in my head feeling like this is wrong. Like, not wrong, but I was like, oh yeah, this is not anything. Like, I had feelings in here that I was actively ignoring because I was doing the right thing. Like, the right thing was to be a monk. So I'm not going to have a relationship with this girl. And it's... So
you never had like any big doubts about her?
I had thousands of doubts. That's exactly what I'm saying.
But like, not about your relationship with her. You were sure about her. You just were not sure how she was fitting into whatever idea of your life you had at the moment.
No, the whole problem was that she wasn't fitting into my idea of my life.
Right. Yeah. But you still felt like she's right for you.
Yeah, I didn't understand what... I feel that now. I don't know that I felt that then. Okay. Right? So I didn't understand what I felt then. Mm-hmm. And I still don't really know exactly what it was. Looking back on it, it makes sense. Hindsight is 20/20. Right. But in the moment, like, this is why I'm pressing you to like look within yourself, because in the moment, like, it's a fucking mess. And the other, like, the whole problem is you're thinking like, how do I look within myself and find the right answer? My point is that I don't think there's a right answer. There's only like the best answer you can make today.
So there's no like technique or trick you can do to like feel out your inner voice better?
There are things you can do to hear out your inner voice, but I think like you're still attached to this idea that there is a right answer out there and there's a secret formula to uncover what the right answer is. And oddly enough, you're not wrong there, but I think what you really need to do is move away from the idea that you can get to a perfect answer. You can absolutely do things to better, and if you want to learn a particular practice, I will teach you a practice to enhance the strength of your inner voice.
Mm-hmm.
And
I would
people
love
think
that.
I'm a good psychiatrist, but I've said this several times. I'm not a, I mean, I'm a good psychiatrist, but what makes me exceptional is not that I'm a good psychiatrist. What makes me exceptional is that I do practices. Literally, the bulk of my spiritual practice is about cultivating my inner voice. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what allows me to connect with people, because like I have data that like other people don't have. And I think that that's through my meditative practice. So there's absolutely things you can do that you can do, and I'm happy to teach you that. But I want you to be careful, because it still presumes that there is a right answer. Like, Mira, I think if you want to be happy in life, you need to start making bad decisions. You need to start.
Plenty of that.
Yeah,
I
I know.
don't
I mean,
want
I
to
don't
do
mean
that
like
anymore.
I don't mean like bad. Let me rephrase. I think what you need to start doing is making imperfect decisions. Instead of looking for the right answer, start accepting that like you can do the best thing you can do today, and it may or may not work out. And that over time, if you do the best thing for you today, tomorrow, and the next day, some of those are not going to work out. Some of them will work out. And over time, hopefully you'll find yourself in a situation where you're happy. But that happiness is not something that can be chased. It's something that's found.
Right. Have you always been in tune with your inner voice,
No,
or is
good
it
God,
something
no.
you came to?
No. Yeah. I mean, I did years and years of meditative practice. I was deaf to my inner voice for most of my life,
Why were you deaf?
because I was like a normal gamer. Like, I played video games all day and had no idea what I felt or how I felt that way. And all I know is that every night when I went to bed, if I wasn't absolutely exhausted, tons of emotions would come rushing up that I hated. I got pissed off every single time my parents asked me, "How did your classes go today?" It pissed me off so much. The worst part of my day would be like, "How did my classes go?" Because they didn't go well. And then I'd lie to them and I'd say everything's fine. And I knew it was a fucking lie, and I knew everything wasn't fine. And there was a part of me that was telling me, "Hey man, you're kind of fucking up here." And then what I did with that inner voice was stuff it way down by playing Diablo 2 and Warcraft 3. And then WoW and all kinds of other stuff.
Been there, done that. So basically, it's by meditating and just working on yourself. You've got into practice that sensitivity within yourself.
Sure, that's the way to get sensitivity. Sure.
Okay.
Like, there are particular practices which I believe, I believe that different meditation techniques affect different functions of the brain in different ways. And there's some evidence to this. I think there's some stuff on our Discord. We've uploaded some papers and stuff. So they've done like EEG studies. You know what EEG is? Okay. So EEG measures the electrical activity of different parts of your brain. And they've done studies on different meditation techniques that show that different meditation techniques create different patterns of electrical activity in your brain. And the electrical activity in your brain is a reflection of which parts of your brain are quote unquote turned off and which parts are turned on. So different meditations activate different parts of the brain is kind of like a simplistic and frankly incorrect way of looking at it. But that's not really incorrect. It's just a simplistic way.
So if I were to go on your Discord, I can get more information about like what meditation I can do to help.
No, you can get scientific papers about the science behind whether meditation techniques affect different parts of the brain differently. But if you want to know what meditation techniques to do, I'm going to teach you, because I know what you need to do. So you can start with 1 or 2 practices, and then we can go from there. I'm happy to continue to teach you like from time to time.
Thank you.
This helping at all?
Yes, it is.
Okay. What are you hearing from me, Mira?
First I was a little confused.
I tend to do that.
Yeah, but I think it's because I had my own idea of like what you think I will, what I thought you would say, but you didn't give me a specific answer. You kind of just marked the answers that I was expecting out, and so I was confused. But now I'm just trying to like I'm really so that meditation that you just mentioned, is it something that we can do in stream and then I can practice off stream as well?
Absolutely.
Okay. And I don't need to do it with someone else. I can just do it by myself.
Nope. Yeah, you can do it by yourself.
Okay. Yeah, that would be nice.
So can you help me understand a little bit about what you're taking away from this?
There's no formula. I need to stop. Oh, let's not say need. Maybe I shouldn't focus as much on specific steps I need to make. I said need again. Why do
That's
I
okay.
not
You,
like
you,
the
you
word?
can use the word. It's okay.
For some reason, I don't like the word need. It like
Yep,
puts
I know.
pressure on me. It
Yep.
puts pressure on me, and I don't like that. Anyways,
But that's how
so
you feel, right?
yeah, I feel like I need.
Yep.
I don't like
I
that.
get that very strongly.
So the vibe that I got from you is that I just need to chill the fuck out and just kind of let things go and let things be, which I thought I did last year. It was very, what was I? I thought I was not doing anything. I was just like traveling and enjoying life. But
So let's talk about that for a second. I think that you should live a life of intentionality. So I don't think that you should chase pleasure and just chill the fuck out. What I'm saying is that you have this, I get the sense, Mira, that within you, you have there's like a Mira inside you with a whip. And she's just
with a what?
whipping you forward with a whip.
Whip.
And she's just whipping you forward. She's like, you need to grow and you need to find yourself and you need to find the right technique and you need to cultivate your inner voice. And it's all like clouded by like this very positive like language, like inner voice and discovering yourself. But at the end of the day, like you're whipping yourself forward. You're pressuring yourself to find the answer, the right answer, find an answer. What's the right formula for success? What are the check boxes that you need to check? And it's a huge step forward to step away from your parents' check boxes. But there's still the idea that there are check boxes. And you're trying to live a perfect life. You're trying to have perfection in your relationship. You're saying it's like 99% of what you want, but it may not be perfect. Like that's a problem, right? That you're looking for perfection.
But without the whip, would there be any movement?
Excellent question. Absolutely. But this is the hard thing for people like you. And by people like you, I mean people who have achieved. This is the most difficult thing that when I work with people who are high achievers, the whip is what gets them to where they are. And so the question is, how can you care about something without the whip? Does that make sense?
So you're saying the energy can still come within you without you pushing, like forcing yourself to do things.
Absolutely.
Right?
And so this is the thing. The reason that you don't know what you want is because you're not aware of that thing. Like that's exactly what we're talking about this entire time. Is that there is a force within you that can propel you forward without whipping you. It's something that you gravitate towards. It's what feels right. It's what makes you happy. It's your internal compass. It's your internal voice. But you have lived a life where you have whipped yourself towards a particular external goal that you have lost sight of like what your internal compass is. And even the way that you find your internal compass is still whipping. Do you see that? Like you're asking me for the perfect technique to find your internal compass. That in and of itself is an external goal that you have an idealized answer for. You see that? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Right?
So
like in that goal. Yeah.
How does one get rid of the whip?
You tell me.
Well, realizing it is already a step forward, right? Knowing that there is one, and that doesn't. Maybe it's just not optimal for me. Maybe it's not the best way to go around it. Because you know how they say that there are different ways to get people to do things, and like if you choose the stressful one through like fear, intimidation, manipulation,
Sure.
whatever, it's not as effective as opposed to when you inspire them or like.
All of your answers are coming from the outside, Mira.
Hmm.
You're smart, so you've read a lot of things and you're quoting a lot of theory. It's very, very intellectual.
It's not that, right?
Right? It's not wrong, but it's incomplete. It's all coming from up here.
Mm-hmm.
And when I ask you questions like, what do you want? Like, it's really hard for you to answer that. And this is like where the numbness comes from. Like, the numbness is because like you don't know what's going on in here. Right? So I think oddly enough, like the way that you need to answer that question is to look for yourself. Like, don't look for I mean, I'm going to teach you a technique because I think you have a very good temperament for this. And I think it'll help you a lot. But at the same time, start to recognize that like the way that you need to find that answer is by trying things and fucking up for a few times.
I can do
Right?
that.
And when I ask you, have you been happy before, and you say no, I don't believe that. I
Did
think
I
you've
say
been
no?
happy. Basically. You said
Hmm.
you haven't had your final form of happiness, which implies that like you're saying like, yeah, it's kind of like asking, have you ever been, have you ever had like a great horse ride? And then you say, yeah, I've had like some pretty good like horseback riding sessions, but I've never ridden a unicorn before.
That would be
And it
nice to ride a unicorn.
absolutely, it would be nice to ride a unicorn. But what I'm saying is that like you're looking for answers from happiness from the outside, but like there is no doubt in my mind that there have been moments of time where you've been like purely happy. And what you need to look for in terms of like where to go is like go back and look at those times. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're fucking confusing because they may not be what you thought they would look like. And we're not talking about playing Hearthstone or sex or other dopaminergic pleasurable things. We're talking about a moment of pure surprise, joy, and happiness where you stopped thinking about expectations and you felt present and you loved being where you were for a moment.
Is that weird that normally I only by myself?
No, not at
Okay.
all. But see, that's an important revelation.
Hmm.
Like, I think it's telling that your question was, is it weird? Right? That's telling me that, like, what you're discovering is running a little bit contrary to what you believe. Because otherwise, you would have said, yeah, it was mostly when I was by myself. You said, is it weird? You're asking for confirmation because it seems a little bit confusing, which is exactly where you need to go. So tell me about that. Don't come up with the right answer. Just give me the answer that you've got. Yes, don't fucking pull that shit with me. Give me the imperfect answer. What were you thinking about when you said is it weird that it was by myself?
Um, I mean, society does tend to judge that, but I truly feel I feel like my happiest moments were just with myself. Like when you started like mentioning, oh, it's not true that you didn't feel happy. I was like, so I started just kind of like going through that briefly, and most of them were by myself.
Can
And
you give me an actual example?
yeah,
Like what do you,
um, like when I go to forest. Well, there were a few like really intense ones, but basically most of them were just in the nature and without anyone around. People just I don't I don't like people very much. I don't like being around people very much. And it's probably me, my bad like communication skills and stuff. But yeah, maybe me trying to.
so
so many questions I haven't had. Like so many things I
Okay.
just want to ask you. It's
Just
weird, right?
ask.
You're asking me a
Ask.
question, but instead I would just want to say this, and I
Go,
want to
go,
know
go.
your
Just
opinion
ask.
on all of
Ask.
them. It's like, well, me trying to become a psychologist, will that get in the way? The fact that I don't really like being around people, but at the same time, I feel so fulfilled when I can talk to someone and like help one way or another. That's just like a random thought that just was there. Like,
Good. Now you're making progress. What else do you have?
I don't know if I should say it while we're streaming.
Okay. I don't.
I don't know. People tend to get really weird on Twitch about stuff. I have PTSD a little bit from Twitch.
Okay.
It's been a while.
Okay. I don't know whether you should or shouldn't say it because I know less about Twitch than you do, and I don't know what's in your head. But anyway, so maybe move on to the next thing. Like what other questions do you have?
No right or wrong. Sorry, I'm a little slow, so I'm just like processing some of the things that you
No,
said, and
you're
yeah.
not slow, Mira. You're doing it. This is what you're here to do. Right? This whole time you've had 1,000 questions for me, and now I'm asking you what are your questions, and you're slow. This is what exploration looks like. This is what
Yeah.
looking within yourself looks like.
I mean, if a person, let's say the person just ends up living the life just by finding like a good job and not necessarily like build up good relationships or like meaningful relationships in life, like without getting married or having kids. That's totally fine too, right? That doesn't have to be, yeah, but that's me setting up again like a checkbox, like, okay, then this is my plan. I'm gonna get, yeah.
No. But I don't think that's you setting up a checkbox. If you really listen to that question, what that question is asking is, can I be happy if I don't check all the boxes? That's the question you need to be asking. Do you see that? Like that scenario is actually letting go of a few of the boxes. It's erasing a couple of the boxes.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like relationships are overrated anyways.
Yeah, so
Sorry, I'm just I'm not voicing it, but I just have a bunch of things going on. Okay.
good.
Because I still have a filter because we're streaming, and I understand that we need to stream because it's useful when people listen to our conversations and can learn something else. But like I have to filter myself like when it comes to what I say. I
Okay,
feel
so
like I need to. Mm.
fine. Let's just respect that for a moment. Okay. Um, and so one or two thoughts. So like you're asking a couple of questions, which I think are good, and you're making a couple of observations, which I think are good. I'm happy to still teach you about how to find your inner voice and all that stuff. But I think this is actually the most important thing that you're doing right now. So you're noticing that actually when I'm happy, like it's in the woods. And also like the idea of being a psychologist and working with someone feels very gratifying. Or when I've had very intimate connections with people and helped them in a significant way, it feels like it gives my life meaning. All that makes sense.
Hmm.
So I'm going to try to toss out one way to understand that. I think the biggest thing about those two things, I don't think you need to be in the woods. I think you need to be free from expectation. Because what I'm hearing from you time and time and time again is that Twitch, your parents, and other people in your life have lots and lots of expectations for you. And then you take those expectations and you internalize them into checkboxes. Are you good enough? Are you pretty enough? Are you smart enough? Are you, sharing enough? Are you not sharing enough? And you're so full of expectation, finding your final form of happiness and setting all these bars for yourself that like you just don't know how to be. Except sometimes in your life, you are put in a particular place where expectation it just doesn't compute. Like when you're with trees, like what do they expect of you? Like there's just no way, like nature doesn't give a fuck. And that's why I think it's wonderful, especially for people like you. So for people who have issues with confidence and self-worth, which I think way deep down, I think you've got something going on there. You're afraid of the judgment of others, right? And you have good reasons to be afraid of the judgment of others, it sounds like. I'm not saying you shouldn't be afraid of that. But at the end of the day, like nature doesn't give a shit. Like if you decide, like I remember when I was also going through my growth and transformative period, there was like, I remember seeing this like 12 or 14 foot boulder. It was just big. And I was out hiking one day and I said like, I'm going to climb to the top of that whole boulder. And I tried to climb into the top. And what do you think happened, Mira?
You fell?
No, thankfully I didn't fall. But I couldn't make it to the top. I was just too out of shape and weak. And how do you think I felt about myself?
How would I feel if I couldn't climb a boulder I was trying to climb? I would just keep climbing. I would not give up. I would figure, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so I did that for a while. And then I realized that it was physically impossible.
Did you try putting stuff around it to climb?
No, I felt like that was cheating. Like I wanted to climb it,
Yeah. Yeah.
How do
Did
you
you try
feel
to work out after that to get stronger and stuff?
Sort of, like for a day or two, but then that fizzled. How do you think I felt when I failed? How does failure feel like?
Probably felt disappointed.
Yeah. Right? I felt
know.
weak. And I was like, yeah, I need to work out and get into shape and things like that. And then I remember this really strange moment where I like looked around. And I looked around because I was like, does everyone realize how out of shape I am? Was anyone watching? And I was like, oh, like no one was watching and no one gives a fuck. And that like all of my disappointment like comes from me. It doesn't come from anywhere else. The boulder certainly doesn't give a fuck.
But what if people were watching? How would you feel?
Ah, so now people watch, right?
Yeah.
And so what I learned that day is like most of the things that we beat ourselves up for come from us. Ultimately, they all come from us. And that you can learn a way to like literally become impervious to the criticism of others. And that's what confidence is. Impervious is immune. Ice block.
Okay.
So it's like I'm ice blocked. Like you can't hurt me anymore. But that's what confidence is. Like when you derive a sense of self-worth from in here, people can say whatever the fuck they want to, and it doesn't affect you. You're ice blocked. It's not that you're numb. It's just that you realize that like they're allowed to have that opinion, and it's not that they're wrong. It's just I'm not going to let their opinions determine my value as a human being.
But what if they what if they take that opinion, even if it's not based on anything factual, they group up, they make the group larger, and they use that, let's call it one opinion just because it's not based on facts, and they spread it all over the internet, and you get...
That sounds awful.
A lot of negativity.
Yeah.
That's when you have to watch what you do and what you say.
Right. So far, I've been lucky enough to not have experienced that. And I don't know if, I've dealt with criticism. I've dealt with harsh criticism before. I've dealt with criticism from people that are important to me. And so far, I've maintained my confidence. I'm not saying, I think if Twitch tried to tear me down or the internet tried to tear me down, they'd succeed because they're just that powerful. I think the big difference though, Mira, I really wonder when you say it's their opinion and it's not based on fact, I would question that. Because one of the biggest sources of my confidence is when someone tells me something, I don't assume that they're wrong. I assume that they're right. So if I get a criticism, and there have been lots of people who have criticized me since I started streaming on Twitch, I start with the premise of like, maybe this person knows what they're talking about. And then I test it. And then I see like, okay, are there things about this criticism that are fair?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the internet definitely like bandwagons onto things. But I think like this is an important part of soul searching on your part, that if like a lot of people think that you're doing something out of line, you should at least be objective and like look, and maybe you did do something out of line.
Mm-hmm.
When I get criticisms, I don't assume that they're wrong. I don't assume that I'm an expert. It's like anyone is entitled to criticize me, and they could be right.
Mm-hmm. But what if you looked into that, you really reflected, and you just don't see what they see whatsoever?
Sure. So practically what I do is I try to engage people. Now, I think that can be hard. So it's different for a man and a woman, and it's different with the internet, right? So I think like there are some things that I've come to appreciate that are different about gender. But generally speaking, if I don't understand someone's criticism, I will actually make a full faith effort to ask. And then, say like, hey, I really don't get this. Right? Like, I don't understand why. Like, I'll give you an example. So I'm working with someone who has a parent who's upset about my work because their child is doing something that they don't want them to do. And their child is doing something that's objectively bad, and they kind of blame me for it. They're like, since he's seeing you and we're paying you a ton of money, like, aren't you supposed to prevent this kind of shit? Mm-hmm. And so then, like, I kind of, there's a part of me that says, like, I don't think you guys understand, like, I'm not responsible for your child's behavior. Your child is responsible for your child's behavior. But you guys think that, their parents, a lot like yours, who think that their child should behave a certain way and that there's a right and there's a wrong and there's no sense of agency. There's just like, there's a right and there's a wrong. And if there's a problem, we throw money at it and we find the best person out there and he fixes it and the problem goes away. Like, they don't get that. Like, the problem here is that, like, you guys can't communicate with your child and he doesn't respect you because you guys don't respect him. But I'll definitely stop and ask them. That's what I think. And it's actually, I believe that because I talked to them. And I was like, well, what do you guys think? You guys think that I'm letting your son down and I'm letting you down. So like, tell me about in what ways am I letting you down? And they said like this, and like, we thought this would happen. And it actually turned out that they had a couple of very good criticisms. I realized like, oh, actually like during COVID, I haven't been checking up with him because he has been doing better and it's been a stressful time. So I can do better at that. Am I responsible for their son's behavior? No, but can I do better? Absolutely. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm just trying to apply it to my situation.
Yeah. I think it's tough.
Okay. So, yeah, I like that you brought that part up about any criticism, regardless of how stupid or not factual I think it is, you can still derive something, like really reflect on that. But imagine with that, even though you talk to them. Do you want to just tell me
what we're talking about? Like, do you want to just tell me what the internet got pissed at you about?
I mean, there's just so much stuff. It's not even that. It's like I pretty much forgot all about it, but I want to make sure that in the future I have like a better formula to react to stuff, which is why I'm asking you. So that's one way of it. But sometimes people are just so unhappy. Like those parents, let's say they just had their own issues and they just want to take it out on someone. They're struggling with their son. They don't want to take responsibility. They're very immature themselves and they put it on you. Like, why do you need to put up with that? And let's say they also talking to everyone around saying how bad of a psychiatrist you are.
Why do you need to put up with that? You don't need to put up with that. Does it affect you? Absolutely. Do I ignore it? No. I mean, so I don't ignore it. I try to address their concerns directly. And if there's a population that matters, I will address it with the population as well. So, for example, like if people complain to my boss, which has happened before, I will go to my boss and, there's a part of that feels hurtful, but then I'll go to my boss and I'll explain my side of the story. And then there are also times where like, I've been in conflict with people and you don't ignore it, but you also like address it directly. And then you can walk away. Like, I think now we're speaking so abstractly that I don't know if it really makes sense, but So I'll give you just a very clear example. So I had an issue with, I was about to take a job and we got down to defining what my title was. And I felt like the title that they were giving me was not appropriate for the kind of work that I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were a lot of people who were my mentors and stuff who basically told me, they're like, the title really doesn't matter. Like, you should just do it and you'll get the title that you want in a few years. And then I kind of took issue with that. And I said, well, this title is actually not the title for the job that I'm doing. And I want the title for the job that I'm doing. It's not about ego. It's about like, this is what I'm doing. And I want a title that's commensurate with that.
Mm-hmm.
And they took an issue with that. And so then I said, goodbye. So
there wasn't any confrontation. You didn't feel...
I felt disrespected.
Right.
I felt taken advantage of. And I felt betrayed because these were people who, and I think they still do care about me. They genuinely do. They've been incredibly supportive for years and years and years. And I'm sure they think I'm egotistical because after everything they had done for me, I walked away, but I just didn't think it was fair.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I think if you're dealing with like venom from the internet, like you have to be like centered in here.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you're centered in here, the less the criticisms matter to you. Like if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing and you really didn't do anything wrong, chances are, I mean, there were things that I did that were out of line and stuff like that. So you reflect on those and you grow from them. You even concede those points. But I find that, generally speaking, like even with Twitch chat, like there have been times where I've made mistakes, of course. And what I usually do is like, I don't know how often this is. Actually, I apologize a fair amount on stream. And usually I find that the internet is like actually a bizarrely understanding place. Like I respect Twitch chat a lot. Like I don't think they're a bunch of mindless noobs who are haters. I think you've got to be careful because there certainly are communities of people who are very toxic and they can hate you.
Yep. Do you think there's prejudice towards women because most
Absolutely.
people
like I said,
Twitch are males, young males that can't really relate?
Absolutely. Right? So I said that at the get-go. Like I can get away with some things because I'm a man and you're going to get a different shake. And that's unfortunate. Like I can't pretend to say that what I can do is doable for you because like I think you just deal with more venom than I do. Right? Like
yeah, sometimes I really question if it's a waste of energy to even respond, but like if you don't put your 5 cents in, people just assume, oh, okay, whatever's going on, it's right. But
Mira, the only thing that I find frustrating about this conversation is that I don't know what you're talking about. And I feel like if I understood what you were talking about, then it would be like way easier to like actually, because we're talking about hypotheticals.
Yeah, but we used your situation. It was perfect because like the first example with the parents, it was actually perfect. Like I really don't want to go into that. Can we? Because I don't,
Yeah, sure.
it's water under the bridge. So
well, I don't think it is though. I don't think it's water under the bridge because whatever happened there shapes the way that you look at the world and shapes who you are today.
Of course, I'm like so careful right now about everything I avoid any type of collaboration with like any streamer at this point. You're probably the first streamer I talked to in like 2 years. Like I've been streaming on my own since then. It's just,
and now I find myself being incredibly curious, which I'm not trying to push you. I'm just sharing my feelings. Okay, so please, I can imagine you're going to feel pushed, so be aware of that. Now I find myself like, what the fuck actually happened with you, Mira? Like, what happened? You don't have to answer that. That's just like, I hear you saying I haven't talked to streamers in 2 years, and it's like, holy shit, like what has this girl gone through? What happened to her? That's my reaction when I hear you say that. And you've been dodging questions from the get-go, and I'm fine with that. Like every time I ask you a question, like, your default is to ask me. You've been deflecting this whole time, which is fine. I get that this has been a place where you've gotten screwed and attacked. So of course you're going to be doing that. I think you've done
I feel like it doesn't matter what I say. Like, there's just a lot of prejudice at this point, so it's
So
better not to talk about it at all.
that pisses me off so much because I do not want to live in a world where it does not matter what you say. Like, that's not right. Your words should always have value. And like, I don't want you to believe that about yourself. Like, fuck however prejudiced it is, but like, don't believe for a second that your words don't matter, because they do.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess. Maybe because I didn't express, like I said, I am generally pretty bad at communicating with people. You know, sometimes you want to say something and you feel a certain way, but it comes out completely different and people take it differently. So maybe because I didn't do it correctly in the past, like whenever I try to say whatever I wanted to say, it just always turned out to be not good. So when it, like, I'm talking about the situations that were not, you know, like sticky, iffy situations. So I think it's just best to probably
Okay.
be quiet.
I'm sorry if I pushed you in a way that was like made you uncomfortable.
I no, you didn't. It did remind me a little bit of like how unfair some situations were, and I'm like, and it's still sitting there. I can feel that emotional response.
Yeah.
But it's not really what I wanted to talk about on stream today. That's not. It's in the past. Um, I feel like I want to focus more on like the present and like what's going on right now and how much
Yeah,
progress
but
I made.
Mira, I know, like, I'm not, and sorry if I'm, you got to really let me know if I'm like doing something that's disrespectful, but I don't think it's in the past, right? Like, this whole conversation is about you looking inside and finding answers within yourself, but this shit is inside you and you're looking away from it. You've been looking away from this shit your entire life. Like, and the thing, the problem, I mean, there's so many subtle things that are actually like really, really terrifying to hear you say, right? Like, to hear you say that your words don't matter. And I have no doubt in my mind that like when you were growing up with your parents, you felt the exact same way. But the whole point is that you do matter and what you feel on the inside is important. And if people hurt you, that's not okay. If they were unfair to you, that's not okay. And I want you to find a place within yourself where you can sit with that and say that sometimes people are assholes on the outside, but it is not a reflection of who I am as a person. That what you want in life is important. And that your words absolutely do matter. And you are intelligent and you're capable and you care about people and you're moving the right forward in the right direction in life, which I think is fucking amazing. Given all the shit that you had to deal with, growing up with a life where you've been given checkboxes and then being in a place like being a public figure where the world judges you for what comes out of your mouth is terrifying. And for you to like start to discover your own path and to a certain degree move past all that shit is amazing.
Sorry, having a
Sorry, I
moment.
should be apologizing because you've signaled to me several times that this is an uncomfortable topic for you and I just can't let this go because like I don't want to let this go. Because it's not water under the bridge. Right? It's water that's flooded your basement. And it doesn't belong there and it's got to get cleaned out because you deserve to be happy in life.
Well, I think this is one of the battles I cannot win. So, which is where I
You can't change their mind, but you can acknowledge for yourself that it hurts and you can let it go. You can still speak your truth and take solace in the fact that like you are confident in who you are and that you spoke your truth and that other people are not willing to listen. Right now, I think the problem is that their opinions of you affect the way that you view yourself. Expectation. That's why the trees are so happy for you. because you don't have to deal with any of that shit.
The trees are wonderful.
Yeah.
But yeah, to some degree, it does affect me. There were some points, some times in my life where I was Googling again, am I a psychopath? Or seeing a therapist, legitimately asking, am I a psychopath? And when she was saying no, I was like, how do you know? If I'm a psychopath, you wouldn't know. I would trick you. So Twitch chat really makes you put some funny ideas in your head, huh?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, if it's any consolation, I'm kind of a psychopath. Take that for what it's worth. But I know it's bizarre.
In which way do you mean that?
So I think, so we got to do a stream about psychopathy and sociopathy because it's been coming up time and again. But like,
I would love to watch that.
So, you know, I think doing so what a sociopath or psychopath is someone who's able to separate their emotions or not feel emotions when they act in certain ways. So
why is that bad?
Huh?
That's superior. That's superior. This is not bad.
Yeah, I don't think that sociopathy is necessarily bad.
Why is it perceived as bad?
Because sometimes it leads to predatory stuff, right? So like people who can separate their emotions are able to hurt and take advantage of people in a way that people who cannot separate themselves from their emotions can't. So if I was free from all kinds of guilt, it's way easier for me to be a criminal.
Right.
But if you test people for sociopathy, you find that politicians test highly on the sociopathy scale, but also physicians, surgeons, and psychiatrists. Surgeons and psychiatrists are the two types of physicians who test the most highly. And it's just because in my case, like if I got overwhelmed by all of the emotions that I feel with people, I couldn't do my job. You wouldn't be able
to help anyone, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
So being able to separate yourself from your emotions is a little bit of an adaptive strategy. And in your case, this comes back to the numbness. Like, why do you feel numb? It's because you've got shit in there that you don't want to feel. And the whole point of, like, if you want to talk about how to find happiness, you can't be numb on the inside. But the problem is that you've got so much shit down there that you turn down the volume. It's kind of like, I want you to imagine this for a second, right? Like, let's say you've got a radio and there's a station that's playing really bad music and there's a station that's playing really good music. And how do you deal with the really bad music? You turn the volume all the way down. And then you can't listen to the good music either because the volume is turned all the way down.
Okay.
In order for you to be happy, you have to stop being numb. But the problem is that if you stop being numb, you're going to dig into all this shit that you say is water under the bridge. It's not water under the bridge. If it was water under the bridge, you wouldn't be feeling whatever you've been feeling for the last couple of minutes. And if people treated you bad, like, you should feel bad about that, and you should feel sorrow, and you should say that's not unfair, and you should receive comfort. And if you fucked up in some way, you should be reflective. And you should be honest with yourself about whether you made mistakes or not. And you should learn from that. And then let it truly be water under the bridge. And so then you can be happy.
Your daughters are adorable, by the way.
1 second, hold on. It's okay. Why are you all wet?
That's why she was laughing at you being tricky.
Okay, it's okay. I'll keep her for 5 minutes. I'll
You sure?
Yeah, it's fine.
You okay?
Yeah, we're just gonna meditate. So it's Why are you all wet? Okay. Avi, why are you all wet? Okay. So
hello.
Hold on a second. Can I have these?
No.
No, but how am I supposed to? Seriously. You're soaked. Okay. Sorry, Mira. Give me just 1 second, okay? Hold on.
Hello.
Avi?
How are you? Why are you wet?
Do you want to talk to the lady?
How did you get wet?
What is this? Okay.
Nah.
Baby, Daddy needs to teach Miss Mira to meditate. Can Daddy teach Miss Mira to meditate? You want to meditate with us? Okay. Hey.
I can't blame her.
Avi, can you guys even see her? I don't know if people can see her. But, okay, Avi. Let me get. Can I have it back?
No.
Okay, Mira, I can't hear you, but I can still try to teach you how to. Avi, baby, can I have this, please? Okay, we're gonna go ahead and we'll do this. Let's try to do. Oh my God, we're gonna have reverb if I unplug it. You smell like soap. Just give me a minute, okay? I'm gonna try to drop her off. Okay, let's go. Let's go play something. You can go play something, okay? Okay, go. Go.
She's so cute.
Okay. No, but she's covered in water. Okay, then you have to be quiet. You have to sit still and you have to listen to Daddy. Okay? Yep. All right. Mira, questions? Sorry about that. Let's fix your hair. Crazy banana. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it okay if she just chills here for a second?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah. What's her name?
Her name is Avi.
Avi.
So, thoughts or questions? Sorry, I was, talking at you for a while.
What's that?
It's a pop filter, sweetie.
Can I touch it?
Sure.
Can I feel it?
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's step outside for a minute, and then Daddy's almost done, and then we can play something, okay? But can you go be outside for a little bit? Can I finish up? Okay. All right, Daddy's got to finish working, okay, my love? I'll do it in 5 minutes. Go play with Mira a minute. They get so confused when I'm home. And now we're home all the time. So they don't understand when it's playtime and when it's not playtime.
Yeah, I get it. So do you think it's important that I really didn't want to go into that. So if there's any type of, I guess, negative emotion from the past, do you really think I need to do more work on that and I guess try to close that gestalt?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be now, but
Right.
if it sits with you still, you owe it to yourself to be unburdened of that.
Right. I can't just move on from that. That doesn't really work like that.
Sorry. I'm so sorry about this, Mira. I don't know if they're... Give me a second, okay? I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really sorry about that, Mira. You were saying, do you have to deal with those emotions?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while and I sort of moved on from that, but, you kind of, brought up a few questions and erased the emotions in me. So you're saying this will keep affecting my overall state somewhere there. It's just going to keep sitting and I need to clean it up.
Absolutely.
Mm-mm.
Cleaning it up may not be as hard as you think it is, though.
Well, see, when I try to talk to a therapist about this, most of the times they don't even get that stuff. And I mean, talking to people that cause a negativity in my life is definitely useless. So a good way would be just ignoring it, I guess, closing up from
Well,
that.
so processing emotions doesn't have to happen through talking about them. So I think like this is where something like a good meditative practice could help. But, you know, if you're going to become a psychologist at some point, oftentimes the training of becoming a psychologist involves like doing therapy yourself, like being a client or patient in therapy. I'm not saying you have to deal with it now. And it doesn't necessarily have to be with a professional, although I think that's good. And I'm surprised to hear that you say that, you know, therapists don't understand this stuff.
You know, Twitch and gaming, it's like so far from what like normies, or I shouldn't say normies, but like normal people
Yeah.
life are like. It's hard for them to relate usually.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I think a good therapist is like, there are a lot of things. I mean, I have a lot of clients that I don't relate to because I can't understand. Like, take, for example, you. Like, I can't understand. I've never been crucified on the internet before. I'm not a woman on the internet. And there are going to be fundamental things about your experience that I will never be able to understand. Right? Like, how can I know what it's like to be a woman on the internet? Because that's very different from being a man on the internet.
How do you advise in situations like that? You just do it for the best of your knowledge?
Yeah. So if you don't know, like, but in order to help someone, you don't have to be able to relate to them fully, right? You just need to be able to support them.
You kind of like lead them through the process, right? And they do it
Well,
on their
not
own.
even lead them, but like, for example, you know, when I have a client who talks about postpartum depression, I have no idea what postpartum depression is like. Like, I can't even begin to understand postpartum depression because I can't begin to like understand what it's like to be pregnant. And when I work with women with postpartum depression, they'll say things like, you know, they'll feel like bad mothers, like they're not a good mother. And like, I don't know what that feels like, right? Like, I don't know what it's like when you can't breastfeed a child and people judge you for not breastfeeding because breastfeeding is healthier than bottle feeding and all that kind of crap. There's a lot of stuff that I can't understand, but it doesn't mean that I can't help people. And this is the beauty, is that like, actually, Mira, like, you don't need someone to teach you. And this is the whole thing. You're looking for me for answers. Like, I think you grossly underestimate what you yourself are capable of. You don't need someone who's gone through your experience, and it's bad on their part if they didn't help you understand this, or maybe you just didn't have a good connection with them. But like, you're able to do most of this work on your own. Like, you need some help and some support. You need a space more than anything else. You need space to do this work. And that can come from trees. It can come from a meditative practice. It can come from a person. And you need to feel those things and then like recognize that you were hurt and that, you know, you're scarred. And also let yourself recognize that it doesn't make you a bad person, that there may have been mistakes that you made. There may have been things that you did that were callous.
What is callous?
Callous is like unfeeling, right?
Unfeeling.
Like you may have done things without the consideration of other people's feelings.
Okay.
But that too doesn't mean that you're a sociopath. A lot of times when people are mean to other people, it comes from hurt. And so like, if you did lash out in some way, or you were mean to people in some way, like, does that come from hurt, or does that come from you being a bad person? Because somewhere inside you right now is this idea that you're not good enough, or you're a bad person or something. I don't really know. Like, there's something in there about the way that you view yourself, where you have this like very, very like relentless focus on positivity and finding the right answer, But like, why do you need the right answer? Like, why do you need to be better? Like, why can't you just be content with the person that you are? Because there's something within you that's like deeply discontent. And what is that? And why aren't you happy right now? What's missing from your life? Is it something external, or is it something, do you believe that something that you do in the outside world is going to make a certain feeling in here go away?
It's honestly not that I feel like I'm a bad person or I feel bad about myself. It's that whip that's telling me that I need to progress. I need to keep going, just get better, just fix everything, be perfect, get to that final form. That's what it is.
Yeah, right? But if you think about that, if you feel like you have to get better, you're not happy with who you are. Those two things come hand in hand.
Yeah, definitely not fully.
And so how can you learn to be happier? And what is it that has taught you to be unhappy with who you are? Because that's learned. Top of the list is tiger parents.
Honestly, it's just the society around. I feel so
Absolutely.
good by myself. Like it's when I interact with other people, not always, but like there's some interactions with other people that just bring so much traction, and I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah.
Being by yourself or somewhere in the nature, that's
Good.
I'm not a social human being, I guess.
No, I don't know that it's you're a social human being. I think you're a human being who's been hurt by other human beings. So
But
it's kind of,
what if those human beings think that I hurt them?
they felt hurt by you. I don't know. Maybe
We
you
were
did
just not
hurt them.
compatible.
Possibly, sure. But you have to acknowledge the possibility that you did hurt them. And maybe that's what you're steering away from. So,
Right.
Mira, we can definitely have, I'm going to have to get going in a couple of minutes, and I definitely want to teach you to meditate, and I want to give you a chance to ask questions if you have questions. But let me try to like tie things up for you. So the first thing is, I think that you're on a wonderful path, and I really am rooting for you. I don't know exactly what happened. Sometimes I wonder whether it's a good thing or a bad thing that I'm not too familiar with like who people are on Twitch. But I think it's wonderful that you're like exploring this and you're trying to figure out what you want to do and that you want to help other people. Very concretely, I think you should spend some time being happy on your own, like with trees and stuff. And the cool thing is like, if you let some of these emotions up, I think the trees are going to help you with those. And you kind of let it up and you let it out and you leave them with the trees. The trees will take it. They have no problem with it. And then you kind of come back. And then I think that you've just been hurt. Like you're someone who's been traumatized, right? And you've got to like, you can't, water under the bridge is a lot of times what trauma feels like, but it's not really like under the bridge. It's just in the basement. It's not truly gone. It's just tucked away. And I think
But
that
I can heal it on my own, right? If I just spend time with nature and just the good things, ones that bring
I
me good
hope
vibes
so.
in life.
I hope so, but maybe you can't. I don't know. Right? Yeah. And I think there are definitely some techniques that I can teach you today, which hopefully will give you a better understanding of yourself. These techniques are not geared towards understanding. I mean, they're not geared towards healing. They're geared towards understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, I think that I don't know that you're going to be able to heal it on yourself. And even then, we see a subtle example of your thought process, which is this ideal of you being healed. Like, can you accept that you may never be fully healed? You'll never get back to 100% HP. That you'll get to 90. Like, that comes back to this, once again, your final form of a perfect healed. Like, that's the problem, is like you have to accept that you're going to be flawed. Right? And
Right.
okay. So, thoughts, questions before we meditate?
Let's get to it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, let me first ask you, have you done like breath-oriented meditation before?
I tried Wim Hof one.
Okay. Um,
Breathe in
so
that.
I have two techniques, both of which I've kind of taught, I think, on stream before. So some of this may be familiar. Have you seen the charging the laser beam technique?
Mm-mm.
That's what people call it here. Okay. So I'm going to teach you a form of meditation that is focused on your Agnya chakra. Agnya chakra is your third eye.
I
So
like that accent there.
um,
Agnya
so,
chakra.
yeah. So
Okay.
these are third eye meditations. And if you have the option to, like, if you ever join like a yoga class or meditation class and people can teach you third eye meditations, I would learn those because I think you have a talent for it. So the technique is kind of weird. So I want you to take your middle finger. So sit up straight, take your middle finger.
Is it okay that I'm cross-legged?
Yeah, cross-legged is great. I'm
Okay.
actually going to sit cross-legged myself. So take your middle finger, close your eyes, sit up straight, keep your neck straight. And I want you to hover your middle finger above, a little bit further down. Yeah, right there. Close your eyes. Don't touch your forehead.
Oh.
Just hover it right above your forehead. And then focus on the sensation on your forehead. Do you feel anything on your forehead with your finger hovering above it?
I feel my left leg is falling asleep.
Okay. You can adjust positions if you need to, but just focus on the spot between your eyebrows.
Okay. So hover means like sorry, English is my
Yeah.
second language.
So,
Like
sorry.
a millimeter away?
Sure.
Centimeter? Or okay.
And if you don't feel anything, you can move a little bit closer, but you don't want to touch. And just concentrate on the point between your eyebrows, maybe a few millimeters above the center of your eyebrows. And hover your right hand, middle finger above it. And now go ahead and let your hand rest, come down, keep your eyes closed, and focus on that point in your forehead. Try to send your attention and your focus into that point.
My headphones died, sorry.
No problem. Just focus your attention on the center of your forehead, kind of between your eyebrows. And tell me if you feel anything.
I feel warmth in my face, but I think it's because I'm just hot right now.
Okay. So notice that sensation and return your concentration to the eyebrow center. And now take a deep breath in and notice the air as it enters your nose. And notice the air as it leaves. And now with a breath inward, imagine the breath going up to that point between your eyebrows. Feel the coolness of the air as it enters your nose. It travels up. And now let your concentration return to the point between your eyebrows. Let go of the breath and bring your finger up again and point it at the spot. And bring it down. Let your hand come down. Concentrate on the spot. And now we'll bring the practice to a close. Put your palms together in front of you. Kind of like a namaste. Perfect. Rub them together so you feel heat and warmth and friction. Fast, 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 fast. And then cup them over your eyes. Cup your hands over your eyes. Take a deep breath, and as you exhale, slowly open your eyes. Then let your hands come down when you're ready. How do you feel?
I feel a little bit lighter. I do have a lot of images going on through my mind though when I close my eyes. Do you have that too when you meditate?
Not usually. What do you mean by images?
Like first when you told me to put my finger here, and I really started focusing in there with my eyes closed, I saw that I had a big bolt going through my head. And as I started breathing deeply in, and you said to push that air through it, I kind of pushed the bolt out with the breath, and I just had a hole. So I was thinking about the hole that I have in there in my scalp. And then you told me to put the finger there again, and I put it all the way through, and I had my hand in my head and going all the way through my body. It's just, I have a lot of images in my head usually when I meditate.
Yeah, good. Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
I think everyone's experience of these techniques is different, but some of the sensations that you're describing to me make sense. I think you're doing it right, basically. And if you have those images, let those images come and see, not that you should analyze them too extensively, but if you want to reflect on their meaning, that's fine. And try to do the practice for, let's say, 3 to 5 minutes, and then eventually work your way up to 10 or 15 minutes. I would shoot for 3 times a week, although if you want to be ambitious and do every day, that's fine. And then also, go ahead.
Does it matter when I do that?
So the short answer is any time is good, but some times are better. Dawn and dusk are the best times for meditation. There's some interesting stuff around circadian rhythm, cortisol levels, and like your body's natural cycle. And dawn and dusk are very attuned for mental or spiritual activity. So if that's doable, meditate at sunrise or sunset.
Should I try not to think about anything?
Okay. Sorry. Excuse me for a second.
I think I should let Dr. K go.
You were saying, should I try not to think about anything?
Right. If I do have thought, this is for feeling, right?
Yeah, so as you have thoughts, you can kind of notice your thoughts, but don't get caught up in them.
Right.
And then, you can have a thought and then let your attention return to your forehead or your practice. So your attention is going to go away and then it'll come back. And then if you have images, you can sit with those images. I think that's fine. Images or sensations, just sit with those and then a thought may happen. But like an image is not exactly a thought. Does that make sense?
Right. So I shouldn't try to block them. I can play with them, right?
Yeah, sure. Play with them. And then don't, you'll see. I mean, you'll let yourself, you can kind of play around with it. I think play with them is actually the perfect thing to do. But don't get caught up in them unless it feels like, don't get caught up in thoughts. And then after meditation, you may find that some of these thoughts or sensations or feelings start to arise. And if they arise after your meditation or before your meditation, or even during your meditation, you can let them come up. And don't go down the rabbit hole with them. And if you want to reflect or process or something like that, you can do that. But I'd say especially after meditation is when you should let your mind be active and think and try to understand and reflect on what your experience has been. Okay. And in your case, especially, I don't know that it's so much about time, but I do imagine it's about location. So I don't know where you live or what the state of Germany, you said you're in Germany?
Yeah.
What Germany is like, but if you have access to trees, I would strongly, strongly recommend that you make this practice part of like even an hour-long thing where you go outside, you hike for a while, you find a spot, sit down, meditate for like 15 or 20 minutes, and then, let those thoughts come up and those feelings come up, and then leave them with the trees, and then come back a little bit lighter.
Yeah, I'll do that. Thank you.
Strong work today.
Thank you so much.
Any final thoughts or questions before we wrap up?
Just please keep streaming. I absolutely love what you do. It's just so helpful to so many people. Watching your streams, just please keep doing this.
Cool. Will do.
All right. Thanks.
Take care and good luck, Mira. I'm really rooting for you, okay? And if you have questions about meditation or something, like shoot me a DM and we can talk about it, okay?
All right.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay. So. Okay. Sorry about all the interruptions, guys. I think my daughter's having a rough day today. And so she's just, it's confusing for her because I'm at home and she doesn't understand when she can play with me and when she can't. So I apologize if that kind of disrupted things. I think it sort of pulled Mira off the hook, though, because she was getting, we were going into some, pulled her off the hook is maybe not the right term, but, I think it was timely that she went to a place that was important for her and then also got a break from it, which is important, right? We don't want to just like swim around down there. We want to go there for a time and feel those feelings and then also take a break for a time, right? We don't want to like jump into the ocean and live in the ocean. We want to go for a quick dip and then come out and dry off and then go again and then dry off. And the more times you do that, the better you'll get at swimming. So unfortunately, daughters are the raid boss, dude. Let me tell you what. We're unfortunately I don't have time with all those interruptions for Q&A today, but just a quick reminder that on Friday we're going to have Will Sue, who's going to be talking about psychedelics. He's a buddy of mine out in LA, also a Harvard-trained physician who's an expert in psychedelics for both medical and non-medical uses. So a big thing that's interesting about Will, so Will's a psychiatrist, is that he's actually a proponent. He thinks that psychedelics are becoming overly medicalized and believes that they have value outside of like treatment of PTSD and depression, and thinks that they can be useful tools for growth and understanding and self-development. So we're going to have him on stream on Friday. And I don't know exactly, I mean, like, I'm not going to interview him the way that I do normal people, but he's just going to share his perspective because it's something that our community is really interested in. And I'm an expert in a lot of things, but, he's definitely more knowledgeable than I am. So he's offered to come on and talk to us. And thank you guys very much for all of the support you guys have given. I saw we had, some gifted subs and things like that. I really appreciate that. Twitch Prime subs, donations, all that stuff really helps. And I appreciate everyone who's offered to come on stream and has come on stream and shared their difficulties, even though it's clearly hard for them. And, I struggle a little bit about being respectful and being authentic. So I apologize if I step out of line there. And if you guys feel like I do something out of line, please let me know, and I'm happy to consider it or reconsider my actions. Last thing is Friday also marks the kickoff of Mental Health Awareness Month, and Healthy Gamer we're going to be trying to raise some money to support our coaching program, which is to help people work through stuff kind of the way that they work through things with me, but I'm training coaches. And so we're going to be doing some fundraising around that. And so hopefully y'all, are around that month, and we're going to try to do a couple of other things, some more fun stuff, cosplays, etc. And let's go ahead and send some love to Dylan KG, who's a small-time streamer, but apparently is awesome. So let's raid the shit out of him. And our AOE, our raid message as always is AOE healing. So send some love to Dylan and take care of yourselves. I'll see you guys on Friday.